For most of my adult life, I asked myself the question, what is my purpose in life? I struggled to answer this question, in part because I had a fundamental misconception of what life purpose is. As I've studied it and researched it, I found that this misconception is very common and it holds people back from getting what they want in terms of purpose. In this video, we'll explore what this misconception is, why it's so common, and what you can do, how you can overcome it relatively easily. My name is Bradley Wright. I'm a professor of sociology and the founder of the Life Purpose Lab. We study how people find life purpose, and we also offer training workshops that guide people in doing so. Let's start with the question, what is my purpose in life? Do you see the problems with it? The way it's phrased, and this is usually how we think about it, it implies a couple things. One, that purpose is binary. Either you have it or you don't. So we think we don't have it, I need to find it. We go from no to yes. Secondly, it implies that purpose is singular. That is, that there's one true purpose in each of our lives. And until we discover it, we don't have our purpose. So this framing of purpose as binary and singular is problematic. As a metaphor, we might think of it as like the treasure at the end of a rainbow. There's one treasure, there's one rainbow to follow to get to it. Or we might think of it as opening up a safe deposit box. You have to know exactly the combination. Until you open it, you don't have any of the good things inside of it or the money inside of it. But once you open it, you have all of them. So this is a misconception of what purpose is. That we have one purpose and we either don't have it or once we discover it, we have all of it. There are multiple problems with this view of purpose. One, it causes a lot of stress. If we think there's only one true way of finding purpose, then we're always worried that we're doing it wrong somehow, that we're going to take a step off the right path and then we'll just be lost. Two, it immobilizes us. Because we're so worried about being on exactly the right path, then we're disinclined to take any action at all. If we're not careful, we're just going to sit on our couch all day and wait for our true purpose just to fall on us like a feather or something like that. And three, it causes us to overlook small purposes. Sometimes purpose shows up in our lives in a very small package. Maybe it stays small, maybe it grows to be big. But if we think there's only one purpose, then why would we care about little purposes? They're not the one. Why do we have this misunderstanding about purpose, and why is it so common? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, it fits with how we experience purpose in terms of time. When we look back on our lives, we see all the different paths we could have taken, but only one path brought us to where we are now. So by extension, we naturally assume that there's only one path moving forward. Now, this is an inaccurate understanding. We can't change the past, but we can't change the future. But it helps us to understand why we think there's just one path forward. And two, there's a lot of cultural references and there's a lot of cultural support for this idea that we have one way to move forward. So Frodo Baggins had one thing to do in getting to Mount Doom and destroying the ring. Dorothy had one golden path to go on to find the wizard. Luke had one way of destroying the Death Star. So we have all these images, and it's a very compelling narrative that we have one thing we're supposed to do, and we're supposed to do it the right way. Because of that, that reinforces this misunderstanding of what purpose is. How should we think about purpose? There's a couple things that we need to know about it. One, we don't just have one purpose in life. We have multiple purposes. We have multiple purposes across time, but at any given time in life, we have multiple purposes. So this binary singular thing just isn't accurate. Also, we have purposes of different sizes in our lives. We have small purposes, we have big purposes, we have medium purposes. And then finally, we have purposes in different areas of our lives. So what's purposeful for us in our career is probably different than in our relationships, which is probably different than our recreation, which is probably different than our spirituality, and so forth. So we want to think of purpose in terms of we have multiple purposes across areas of different sizes at any given time in our lives. Do you see how different that is from a binary, singular, one true purpose? In this way, a better metaphor for purpose is a garden. In a garden, you have multiple plants. Each one has its own needs. And what you're trying to do is put the right plants in the right places. Some are big, some are small. They're of different types. Or maybe purpose is like an investment portfolio, where you have different things that you invest in, and you want to nurture them and you want to fine-tune them so that you have as much value out of them as possible. So, what should you do with all this? Well, first of all, if you're feeling alone and stuck and frustrated with not knowing what your purpose is, take heart. You're not alone. Realize there are practical steps that you can take. There are specific processes you can follow, models that you can learn that will help you to have a lot more purpose in your life. We'll teach you what those are on this channel. There's other places you can learn about them as well. But as a starting point, make sure that you have a correct understanding of purpose. Pay attention to how you think about it and talk about it, and lean into it being a garden or an investment portfolio where you have multiple purposes of different sizes across areas of your life. Just changing this understanding by itself will open the door in your life to having more purpose. If you have found this material to be valuable, please like and subscribe. Also, I would appreciate it if you would put some comments about what kind of videos you would like me to film. In the video description are links to additional resources that you might check out if you want to learn more about purpose. Until the next video.